type of power in One Piece that does not need screams, blows, transformation, or special shine. A power that says, without saying, I was born to be king. And this power is, of course, Conqueror's Haki, the Haki of the king, the Haki reserved for characters who are destined to change the world. But there is a detail. Among all these legendary monsters who carry this power, there is a pirate who uses it as if it were part of his own breathing. A pirate who transforms his will into a storm. A pirate who knocks down armies with a silly look and a smile that hides the most indestructible determination of the sea. Yes, we are talking about him, Monkey D. Luffy. And today, we're going to revisit, with depth, emotion, and that atmosphere worthy of a shonen power-up, the most legendary moments of Luffy's Conqueror's Haki. The moments that make you sit closer to the screen and think, this kid is not only going to be the king of the pirates, he was born for this. If you love seeing Luffy leading monsters, armies, Yonkos, and even nature on their knees, get ready. Because today, we're going to break down every detail of these iconic moments, from the small signs of greatness to the explosions of Haki that changed the course of history. The giant baboon in Wano.
Nandayo.
We start with a scene that, despite being small, is simply perfect. The definitive proof that Luffy arrived in Wano with another posture, another aura, another kingly vibe. He is walking calmly through the forest when a gigantic baboon wielding a sword tries to impose respect. A monster of that size, any other pirate would say, okay, this is going to be work. But Luffy? Luffy looks, and the baboon faints on the spot, as if someone had turned off the switch of his soul. No fight, no speech, no finger raised, just raw, pure, and silent power. This moment is important for one reason. It makes clear that from that point on, Luffy was no longer just a strong pirate. He was a king under construction, and kings do not waste time with creatures that make no difference in their journey. The king's Haki against the pack in Impel Down. Now, we open an emotional portal to one of the darkest moments in Luffy's history, Impel Down. He is poisoned, he is shaking from cold, he is too weak even to stand. And it is exactly when he's at the bottom of the pit that a pack of hungry wolves decides to attack him. But do you know what the difference is between an ordinary character and someone who carries the Haki of kings? Even on the brink of death, even without strength to raise his arm, the will is still alive and furious. With a single pulse of Haki, the entire pack collapses as if it had been hit by an invisible explosion. No roar, no movement, just his spirit refusing to die. This moment is not just about strength, it is about what makes Luffy be Luffy. The body may fall, but the spirit never. And this is the type of king the world fears. Luffy versus the Now we go to a moment so fast but so symbolic that many people never notice its weight. Hammond and the Fishman try to intimidate Luffy by bringing sea monsters, the creatures that reign in the depths, feared even by experienced pirates. But Luffy? Luffy just releases a breath of Haki, and the creature freezes in fear like a puppy that has been scolded. A sea monster, in its own territory, frozen with a simple look. If there was any doubt that Luffy was special, there it evaporated. It is the perfect contrast. Luffy surrounded by enemies, underwater, without any advantage, and even so, the sea obeys. The training with Rayleigh.
Doka, 痛えのか?
go to one of the pillars of Luffy's journey, the moment when he stops being just a boy with potential to become a real Haki user. Rayleigh throws him onto an island full of giant beasts, each one of them capable of killing an ordinary human with a single blow. At the beginning, Luffy knocks everything down with Conqueror's Haki without realizing it. But Rayleigh does not want explosions, he wants control. And then Luffy learns to use the power in a surgical way, without knocking down, without hurting, just controlling the presence of the creatures like a true monarch. This moment marks the birth of something new. Not only the king's Haki, but the king learning to control his throne. Rayleigh watches smiling like a master who sees the future before his eyes. Luffy versus Douglas Ford. Then we enter one of the most cinematic confrontations of the entire One Piece universe, Luffy versus Bullet in One Piece Stampede. Before a punch, before any movement, they stare at each other. Haki against Haki, will against will, and the atmosphere weighs as if the screen had increased in density. Two titans, two monsters, two potential kings testing who has the most indestructible will. Bullet, the heir of the demon, a human wall. And Luffy, with a look that silently says, if you want to stop me, you are going to have to break my will. This scene is not a fight. It is a conflict of souls. The kind of moment that makes you hold your breath without noticing. The Haki that acts alone. Now we enter one of the most frightening and at the same time most impressive moments of our captain's entire trajectory. After being brutally defeated by Kaido, Luffy falls from the roof of Onigashima like a broken doll. He is unconscious, totally defenseless, body shut down, blood flowing. But do you know what remains standing? Do you know what did not turn off even for a second? His will. When a group of soldiers tries to capture him as if they were carrying only a defeated little pirate, they instantly faint with a wave of Haki that Luffy did not even notice. That was not deliberate power, it was not an attack, it was not intention, it was pure kingly instinct. It is as if his spirit said, touch my body if you have the courage, and nobody does. This moment is so monstrous that many fans consider it the definitive mark that Luffy is not just a user of Conqueror's Haki, he is one of the greatest. Because when even his unconsciousness emanates authority, you're no longer a warrior, you are a force of nature. The arrival in Sabaody post-Thanksgiving.
Okay. よくわかった。
2 years pass. 2 years in which each Straw Hat prepares to face the new world. And when Luffy returns to Sabaody, he gives one of the greatest demonstrations of evolution in anime history. The fake Straw Hats are deceiving pirates, pretending to be the original crew. And when Luffy finally enters the scene, the atmosphere changes. He does not argue, he does not shout, he does not give warning. He just releases a breath of Haki, short, dry, precise, and hundreds of people faint in seconds. No violence, no confusion, no effort. It is one of the best examples of presence. Luffy does not arrive, he happens. He steps into the place and everyone automatically understands. The real captain is back. And the most beautiful part is that he does not use this power as arrogance. He just moves forward like someone who knows the weight of his own journey.
やめろって言ってんだろうが!
Let's go back to the past. Long before Marineford, before the time skip, before any Haki control. Luffy is fighting against the bravery of the Kuja warriors and, in a moment of pure desperation and pure determination, something happens. He lets out a shout, the scene shakes, and dozens of warriors fall unconscious at the same time. At the time, nobody understood what that was, not even the Amazons themselves, much less Luffy. But today, looking back, it becomes clear. It was the first roar of the king. A spontaneous awakening, chaotic, powerful, natural. the king's haki began to leak like an energy leak from a nuclear reactor that someone had just turned on for the first time. This moment shows a very important truth. Luffy did not train to have Conqueror's haki, he was born with it. And the closer he gets to his destiny, the more this force grows. Film Z.
おお、随分おまけを引き連れてきたな。だったら最初から。おい、ルフィ、Z のいるところ聞くんだからな。何人か。
In the movie One Piece Z, Luffy delivers one of the biggest be quiets the Navy has ever received. Zoro calmly warns, Luffy, leave some standing, okay? And what happens? Luffy releases a tsunami of Conqueror's haki that crosses the entire Navy division. Soldiers on the ground, officers in the sand, Vice Admiral falling to his knees without being able to breathe properly. This moment is so impactful because it shows something very clear. Even without fighting, Luffy is a geopolitical problem for the world government, and he does this with the calm of someone who is simply warming up. The Clash of Kings. Of all Luffy's battles up to Whole Cake Island, none was as respectful, as intense, and as worthy as the duel against Charlotte Katakuri. Luffy and Katakuri wanted to fight alone, without interference. Two men, two warriors, two future kings. And then comes the epic moment. Both release their Conqueror's haki at the same time. The room vibrates, the ground shakes, bystanders fall like flies, and one of the best duel stares in anime history appears. A close-up on the pupils, a deadly silence, and the promise of a combat that would be remembered forever. Katakuri represents the old guard of the invincible. Luffy represents the new generation that came to break the entire world. And that clash was the signature of that meeting. Luffy versus Don Chinjao.
Mera mera no mi wa dare ni mo watasa ne!
つけてやるわい。
In Dressrosa, we have one of the most unique and symbolic moments of Luffy's Conqueror's haki, the confrontation with Don Chinjao, a living legend of the seas, someone who had already faced none other than Gold Roger. This encounter is not just a fight between two fighters, it is a duel between two eras. Chinjao, with decades of war, scars, and stories that would make any pirate tremble. Luffy with the fierce youth and limitless will of someone who was born to be free. When the two release Conqueror's haki, the arena shakes, the audience collapses, and the impact of the clash raises waves throughout the entire Colosseum. The scene breathes symbolism. The old king faces the new, but the new is not intimidated. Chinjao recognizes this. He sees in Luffy the same shine, the same spark that he saw in the former king of the pirates. And this recognition gives even more weight to the moment. Luffy is not just fighting, he is being accepted by history. Fishman Island.
おい、ルフィ。
Now we arrive at one of the most iconic moments of Luffy's career. Hody Jones appears with a gigantic army, 100,000 soldiers ready to destroy the Straw Hats. Most pirate captains would panic, but Luffy looks at that sea of enemies and says with all the calm in the world, half of that is already solved. And then one of the most brutal demonstrations of Conqueror's haki ever seen in the anime happens. 50,000 soldiers faint instantly. No blow, no movement, no effort. A single breath of will. Half of an army disappears from the battlefield like dust. On that day, the world saw that the young pirate who once defeated Arlong was now someone capable of facing entire nations. Luffy does not grow, he evolves in quantum leaps. Luffy versus Doflamingo.
両の頭を砕き割ろうだけだ。もうそうなのか。ダメ
Dressrosa is complete chaos. Children crying, families hiding, desperate people. And at the center of everything, two users of Conqueror's Haki, Luffy and Doflamingo. Doflamingo is brutal, sadistic, manipulative, the type of monster who uses his Haki to impose fear and pain. Luffy is the opposite. He uses his Haki to protect, to resist, to save. When the two clash their wills, it feels as if two storms are trying to destroy one another. Doflamingo attacks with the cruelty of someone who believes the world was born to obey. Luffy responds with the fury of someone who fights for those who cannot fight. And in that clash, Luffy's Conqueror's Haki shows itself to be different. Faster, more precise, sharper, full of purpose. The entire fight vibrates with this energy. Each blow seems like a declaration. You rule through pain. I rule through freedom. And in the end, Dressrosa discovers that there exists a king far more worthy than any puppet tyrant. The legendary exchange against Kaido. Here we reach the moment that divided the fandom in two, the instant when the impossible happened. The moment when a 19-year-old boy hit and truly hurt Kaido, one of the most powerful creatures in history. Because when Luffy lands that punch, it is not just physical strength, it is advanced Conqueror's Haki flowing through his fists like condensed black lightning. The camera focuses, the thunder explodes, and Kaido feels pain. The world stops for 1 second, and in that instant, something changes in the narrative of One Piece. Luffy stops being a promise and becomes a threat. That punch is much more than a blow. It is the signature. I am no longer the boy you defeated. I am the man who will take you down. Kaido realizes this, and all of Onigashima realizes it too. Marineford we arrive at the scene that changed everything. The one that made every admiral, every Yonko, and every fleet commander turn their heads. The day when Luffy, still a teenager, still a beginner pirate, still someone without training, knocked down dozens of soldiers in the middle of the chaos of the greatest war of that era. Marineford was in flames. The greatest forces in the world were present. Everything was despair, blood, and destruction. And suddenly, the king's Haki explodes. Soldiers fall on all sides. Sengoku is stunned. Akainu immediately begins to consider Luffy a priority threat. And even Whitebeard lets out that laugh of recognition. This kid has something dangerous inside him. It was the public birth, the official revelation. The moment when the world discovered the next king of the pirates was already among them, even if nobody knew it. The moment Luffy walked in front of Big Mom and Kaido.
俺の前でもずいぶん大口叩いたよな。うちの城もぶっ壊しやがって。
お前が一体何になるのか。俺たちの前でもう一度言ってみろ。
Shortly before the confrontation on the roof of Onigashima, Luffy climbs the stairs accompanied by Killer, Kid, Law, and Zoro. But the atmosphere completely changes when he finally steps onto the top. There are Kaido and Big Mom, two beings who rewrote the rules of the world. Two monsters feared for decades, two Yonkos, and Luffy simply walks past them, without trembling, without hesitating, without slowing his step. In that moment, his Conqueror's Haki pulses subtly, as if warming up before the fight. The beast pirates nearby immediately shrink, some even retreat instinctively. It is as if the air becomes too heavy for normal breathing. Kaido notices, Big Mom notices, and both understand, this kid changed. He is no longer the Luffy we faced before. This simple walk is one of the most powerful scenes in One Piece, because it shows not the strength of the body, but the strength of the soul. Luffy does not climb a roof, he climbs a throne. The Haki clash between Luffy and Big Mom. The tension between them was already at its limit when that visceral moment happened. The clash of Conqueror's Haki between Luffy and Big Mom. The screen vibrates, the aura distorts the environment. Even the ground seems to want to move away from the two. Big Mom with her years of absolute domination. Luffy with his young and inexhaustible will growing every second. When their Hakis collide, it is not a simple confrontation. It is the collision between two eras, two philosophies, two ways of seeing the world. Big Mom says with her presence, "I have been the queen of the sea for decades." Luffy responds with his, "And I will be the king of the pirates." This moment is so strong because there, without needing blows, we understand that Luffy is not just surviving in Yonko territory. He is facing them as an equal, and that changes everything. The Conqueror's Haki in Even after Black Lightning, absurd clashes, and blows that shook all of Onigashima, Luffy's journey still had one final step. When he awakens Gear 5, it is not only his body that changes. His King's Haki simply breaks all restraints. He fights laughing. He fights free. He fights as if he had broken the logic of reality itself. The black rays, once intense, now mix with the chaotic energy of his awakened fruit. The ground melts. The sky spins. Kaido finally begins to waver. And it is in this state, between playfulness and brutality, that Luffy's Conqueror's Haki reveals its peak. The spirit of Joy Boy and the will of a king coexisting inside the same body. It is the closing of a cycle. The confirmation that everything, Marineford, the trainings, the defeats, the falls, each fight, each tear, everything led Luffy to that moment. That Haki there is not just power, it is destiny. And so we reach the end of this journey through the most legendary moments of Luffy's Conqueror's Haki. Moments that do not just show power, but show who Luffy really is. A boy who came from nothing, a pirate who became a legend, a man who one day will still be remembered as the greatest king who ever sailed the seas. Now I want to know from you, which of these moments gave you chills the most? Which scene of Luffy's King's Haki should be on this list? Tell me in the comments, because I want to know which moment made you think, it is. This guy is going to be the king of the pirates. If you like this video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you do not miss any epic content from the world of One Piece and other anime that we love. Thank you for watching, and we will see each other in the next video. Thanks, and until next time.